Jon Gruden is rumored to becoming not only the head coach of the Oakland Raiders, who let go of Jack Del Rio, but also they're going to offer him stake in the franchise with the ownership group. Stephen A. Smith has some thoughts. This should be fun. Take a look.
I am a fan of Jon Gruden, and I don't like talking about my colleagues because I never do it. But this is important because he's potentially the next coach for the Oakland Raiders. Jon Gruden does not deserve an ownership stake, not unless he's coming out of pocket with his own money and investing, and they vet you and they let you in. Does Bill Belichick have an ownership stake?
Not that I know.
Does Bill Parcells have an ownership stake? Does Mike Tomlin have an ownership stake? Did Tony Dungy have an ownership stake? Damn it, does Mike McCarthy have an ownership stake? I'm sorry. The first time in NFL history that a coach gets an ownership stake in a franchise is Jon Gruden. If Bill Belichick somehow, some way had an ownership stake, you ain't gonna hear me say a damn word. Jon Gruden, look, you got one Super Bowl. But in the end, when it comes down to it, then I ain't even bring up the Rooney Rule. I ain't even bring up how that's being circumvented. The belief is, okay, this is going to happen. Any African-American coaches interviewed? So you're violating the Rooney Rule. And on top of it all, you're doing it for who?
Look, the next words were, a white man.
It was all over here, right? Every which way. But what I do agree with is, Jon Gruden is a colleague. I don't like talking about my colleagues, but it was funny how he set it up. But he does have to talk about it. It's a big story. A coach who hasn't been in the league for however many, 6 years, whatever it was, probably more at this point.
I was wondering that.
Yeah. So
close to 10, 8. Yeah.
It's probably in the 8+. It's just funny how he prefaced it with, I don't like talking about my colleagues. I never do it. But Jon Gruden, it's just funny. So the one thing that he brings up, which is very important and vital to this story, is the Rooney Rule. They haven't interviewed a black head coach. A potential black head coach. If you don't know what it is, the Rooneys established this rule because they saw that a lot of black coaches were not getting a fair shake, not even getting interviewed. So Dan Rooney, who is legend to the NFL, and also, of course, the Pittsburgh Steelers, they established the Rooney Rule where you have to interview one potential black head coaching candidate. And it's led to so many fine men getting jobs, but he is right. This is in violation of the Rooney Rule. On top of that, there's two things. The Rooney Rule not being put in place with Oakland, and then also Jon Gruden getting a stake in ownership. These are two big things.
So you wonder where this was born from. Obviously, as Screaming A pointed out, was that there's all these legendary figures within these other teams that don't have the same thing. But I mean, it would have to start at some point. And my only defense of this is, and which team would you expect to do something different that no one else has ever done in the way that they would hire a new head coach? Would be the Raiders.
Yeah.
This is historically, the Raiders do things that other teams and organizations wouldn't do.
Allow me to interject, but that's also not Al Davis. It's Mark Davis. That's so true. If Al Davis was still here, I would agree with you. But since it's Mark, I mean,
carrying the torch.
Have you seen his hair? He's not carrying the damn torch. So continuing on.
Yeah. So I mean, if there's ever going to be a change in how maybe they would do it, I don't know who brought up if it was Gruden's people or if it was the Raiders organization itself. It was maybe this because of whatever reason, whoever wanted it, and they consider it. Again, as we talked about in a previous video about college football landscape and the layout of the playoff system, I'm okay with change. I'm okay with trying something. But again, there's a lot of things that Stephen A. was talking about there that make a lot of sense. You have to have a certain way of doing it. And when you try something new, you may miss a couple of these points. I'm not sure if that was their intention, but at some point, you have to be fair.
I agree. I think we also evolve over time. The Clippers were bought for how much money?
Oh, yeah.
By Ballmer? Well over $1 billion?
Yeah.
So now a rising tide lifts all ships. So now this is the commonality between any NBA franchise or NFL franchise. Jerry Richardson is a bad guy. And he's putting the team up for sale. He bought them for $200 million. He's gonna make maybe $2 billion. I was thinking 1.8 or 1.9. So the unfortunate thing is this could now be a spiraling effect where if you really want to hire a coach and you think they're worth it, you're gonna offer stake and ownership, which I agree with Stephen A. That's a lot, man. But here's the thing. I think Jon Gruden waited it out so he could have this. So even if he fails, he has a circus-like security blanket where if he falls off and fails with Oakland, he will be caught by ownership. And look, if it's true, brilliant move by Jon Gruden. Is he worth ownership in the team? I don't know. I tend to lean towards no.
Yeah, I agree. And then maybe this would be a mistake for Oakland because now maybe there's some conflicts and you're the head coach and you're also part of the ownership group. Like what's going to happen if you're not needed anymore?
So then you get promoted. So you already have your executive office, right, as a head coach. All you do is you move up to a higher floor. And you're not head coach / executive or owner. You're not even head coach / owner. You're then being moved up to the penthouse where you're with all the other owners. And they're like, man, cheers. It was a good run. Welcome, Like it just seems weird.
Yeah, it's already hard enough when there's GMs who are people part of not necessarily GMs, but whenever they have to do with recruiting.
Like head coaching?
When they coach.
Well, Belichick is the only one that could do it. I think Pete Carroll was assistant to the GM.
There ends up being people that have conflicts with that sometimes, but then this is an extra step.
Right.
I don't know. Like
so you're against it, it sounds like.
Generally, yeah. It's just like I always like to at least understand or at least accept the potential change and think, maybe this could work. And then after looking at it closely, which I have not done, and go, yeah, maybe not. But we can consider without just blanket going, oh, this is crazy. No way. It's just something different. I'm scared of it.
So here's the question. And we're out of time, so this is the very last question I'm going to ask, and then we'll get going, like 30 seconds. Would you hire another run-of-the-mill, we think, head coach? Because it's so hard to win consistently in the NFL. Like, I think Belichick is an anomaly. Tom Brady is an anomaly. Would you take a John D. Filippo, quarterbacks coach from the Eagles, or I'll even stay there, Jim Schwartz, defensive coordinator for the Eagles to be head coach? Any of those guys, would you take one of those, or would you go with Jon Gruden, you know what you're getting, and give him partial ownership of the team? It'll probably be a small percentage, but he's going to have it. Do you go with the run-of-the-mill head coach?
No.
Or do you go with Gruden?
You got to go with somebody who you think and
so you offer ownership. Exactly.
In his 10-second answer, yeah, but then maybe not, because it's a really bad idea.
But if you had to choose right now?
If you want to win, yeah, because you make more money when you win, and you're out there. We know what Jon Gruden has done.
Right.
So it's more, we know what these other guys have done. Schwartz has done.
Yeah, in Detroit. Yeah, sure. All righty. Tough call, but would you take Jon Gruden over any of the current available head coaches right now? Let us know your thoughts, comment section below. Subscribe to 2IT Sports.